He bought a black girl and an Apache girl for $2. No one knew it cost him everything. Bitter Ben baked beneath a white sun that stripped paint from false front stores and sucked moisture from every breath. At the end of Main Street, a rough pine platform balanced on whiskey barrels. Ropes creaked overhead where traders had strung a warped sign. Lot 5. 2 for $2. Dust motes swirled like ash around two figures standing barefoot on the boards. The first was barely 20, skin deep mahogany, hair braided tight to the scalp and wrapped in a torn gingham ribbon. Her cotton shift clung from sweat and travel grime, yet straight seams along the hem betrayed the eye of a trained needle. Iron cuffs sat at her left wrist, tethered only by frayed hemp, symbol, not shackle. She held spine erect, gaze fixed past the horizon, as though reading a line of music only she heard. Beside her stood an Apache girl, no older than 18, with dark braids tied by sinew, a single hawk feather hanging near temple. Buckskin strips crisscrossed her shoulders. Small bone beads rattled when desert wind probed. Her eyes were soot-black, unblinking, taking measure of each potential buyer with the detachment of a cliff hawk. The crowd didn't bother, masking disgust. A ranch foreman spat brown juice, muttering about mixed stock unlikely to obey. A gambler in striped waistcoat laughed at the bargain, yet kept purse latched. 2 mouths to feed weren't worth even 2 coins. Children pointed. Mothers tugged them away, warning of curses. Then the murmur split as Elias Boone guided his swayback bay through the ring. Boone looked part scarecrow, part obituary. Cheeks hollow, coat canvas bleached to the color of drought. Months earlier, a flash flood had claimed his wife, his son, half his herd, and the mortgage bank now gnawed on what remained. He carried a single coin pouch, so light it sang like dry corn in wind. Inside, 2 silver dollars his last. Boone halted, removed hat, wiped sweat line, eyes never leaving the sign. Auctioneer barked, $2 takes a pair. Who'll own them and be rid of my headache? Silence answered. Boone raised pouch. Coins clinked like rain on tin. Foreign sound in that drought of mercy. Some men chuckled. One shouted, throw the nag in too. Boone's lips formed a line thin as sage grass. He placed coins on battered ledger, the gesture gentle as setting down a sleeping child. Gavel struck. Dust leapt. The trader sliced hemp cord. The black girl rubbed wrists where rope had burned. The Apache girl flexed fingers as if tasting free air. Boone extended canteen. The black girl drank first, 3 slow gulps, then offered to her companion, who sipped without breaking gaze on Boone's weathered face. He motioned toward his wagon, plank bed empty but for old tack. They followed, not led, not dragged. Spectators muttered odds on how long before he regretted the purchase. Boone untied his bay, guided it and the women beyond town's last hitch post. Rising dust muffled the gambler's final jeer. Lucky you didn't pay 3. There ain't that much girl between em. Laughter chased them but died at the edge of high-heat silence. Mile outside town, Boone stopped beneath a lone mesquite, offered bread heel torn for his own supper. The black girl tore in thirds, passed pieces to her new sister and to Boone himself. First decision of shared life. They ate, wind singing low. Name's Elsie, the black girl said last, voice soft but edged in iron. Used to sew for the colonel's wife. Boone nodded. Apache girl tapped breast twice. Wren. Boone guessed. She inclined head. No further talk. Sun angled west. They traveled until red dust pooled in arroyos. Floodplain ruins appeared. Boone's ranch. Half fence lines toppled. Barn roof missing ribs of tin. Fields bears giveaways. A single lantern flickered in cabin window. Sentry to emptiness. Boone helped both women down, their feet sinking in powder-dry clay. He gestured wide. It's dying ground, but it's yours as much as mine if you stay. Words came simple, delivered like seed cast into poor soil. Elsie stepped onto sagging porch, pushed open door, dust blossoming inside. She found a broken rocker, tested joint, mentally measuring repair. Wren strode to the well, drop pebble, hollow echo, no splash. Her eyes narrowed, scanning hills for water scars. Night settled star-thick. Boone built small fire in yard, coffee pot half-filled. They shared tin cups, silence thick as riverbed clay. Coyotes called. Wren's head tilted, reading distance. Elsie stitched Boone's coat tear, with spare thread from ribbon, hands working without conscious thought. He watched, gratitude shining brief before shame. A man paying pennies for miracles he couldn't make himself. Boone unrolled blanket by wagon tongue, motioning women to take cabin bed. They refused, spreading quilts on opposite sides of fire. Triangle of wary trust. Wren lay knife under thigh. Elsie hid needle and braid, a different kind of blade. Above, Milky Way spilled silver. Below, three strangers listened to one another breathe until sleep stole armor. Before dawn, Wren rose. Boone, light sleeper, followed her shape to hill crest. She squatted, pressed palm to earth, then pointed east where cacti flowered after rare storm. Sign of groundwater. Boone understood. Hope accompanied them after all, disguised as scouting instinct. They returned to camp where Elsie boiled leftover grounds into chicory sludge, served with small smile. First crack in defense of stone. Wren trace map in dust. Boone nodding plan. Dig new well, patch barn, sow winter rye. When first light split clouds, they knelt by dead well. 3 sets of hands hauling rotten rope. Future rising in brown splinters. Town's taunts faded behind horizon shimmer. Ahead, a broken ranch waited to breathe, powered by a needle and knife, and $2 silver bought with pity, but redeemed perhaps by sweat. Boone lifted first shovel of dirt. Elsie positioned broken bucket for scrap. Wren paced circumference, hearing subterranean promise. Their shadows merged as sun climbed, a single silhouette of unlikely family against raw prairie canvas. Sun lifted like a white-hot coin and held there, unmoving, while 3 unlikely partners dug through earth baked to terracotta. Boone swung pick. Each strike rang dull, shoulders shaking grit loose from memories. Wren measured depth with a woven grass cord, marking inches in silent tally. Elsie hauled spoil with a bent shovel, cotton shift darkening with sweat, until cloth clung like wet clay. By noon the hole reached shoulder height, yet remained stone dry. Boone wiped brow, tasted blood salt on cracked lip, and feared the gambler's laughter had been prophecy. He nodded for rest. Wren climbed out, scanned ridge. Vultures circled lazy arcs. Somewhere north a dust plume hinted of distant herd. She knelt, pressed ear to soil, felt faint hum, too faint. Her jaw set. Water lived deeper. While Boone sharpened pick on wagon wheel hub, Elsie explored cabin. Dust ghosts billowed as she opened trunk after trunk, unearthing bolts of faded calico, a broken treadle sewing machine, crates of letters. Trish Boone's neat hand describing harvest that never came. Elsie folded one scrap into pocket, a private promise to finish lines begun by another woman. She hauled sewing head outside, strip belt, oil gears. By sundown the rusted pedal hummed again. Night found them eating cornmeal mush flavored with sage wren, had plucked near arroyo. Firelight carved tired hollows in their faces, yet soft pride glowed behind exhaustion. Elsie pulled out repaired coat. Seems almost invisible. Boone touched them with rough thumb, voice low. Best stitch I ever saw. She shrugged, but cheeks warm bronze. Wren pointed to moon, half waning, then to cracked barn cistern. Gesture clear. 2 weeks before true cold, water needed before frost sealed ground. Boone nodded, anxiety pounding ribs. At first pale, they returned to shaft. Wren insisted Boone rest battered shoulder, and took pick herself, muscles taut under buckskin. Elsie timed breath, shoveling rhythm to Wren's swing. Mid-morning, rock changed, darker, damp. A mutter of mud smell curled upward. Wren struck again. A brown vein seeped, then gushed. Mud splattered legs, but cheers drowned insecurity. Boone dropped to knees. Cup first trickle, warm, iron-rich, miraculous. They shored walls with split cedar, lowered Elsie's patch bucket, hauled water clear enough to mirror 3 tired grins. Boone led bay horse, letting it drink slow. Tears slicked lashes nobody mentioned. Next task, barn roof. Broken rafters lay like skewed ribs. Elsie braided rope from yucca fiber. Wren climbed rafters, nimble as lizard. Boone handed planks salvaged from flood debris. They worked until blister moons rose on palms, yet by dusk a solid patch-barred sky leaks. That night Boone fetched small tin he'd hidden, 2 spoonfuls of coffee ground. He brewed, dividing even, the fragrance unspooled memories of rail depots and calm rainy mornings. Elsie's fingers brushed Boone's as she accepted cup. Nita withdrew. Wren watched fire reflection in liquid, eyes softening. Coyotes howled. Wren answered with low whistle. Silence followed. Pack drifted. Boone marveled. You talked to them? Wren tilted head. Perhaps. Day 3. Elsie unveiled treadle. Sat on porch. She cut calico strips. Began piecing a curtain to block winter drafts. Boone hammered window frame square. Wren departed at dawn, returning with rabbit, cactus fruit, and handful of river reeds. She presented reeds to Elsie, future basket splints. Elsie offered needle in exchange. Trade sealed with small nods. Evening brought stranger, slim dyer, trapper passing through, smelling pelts and opportunism. He eyed girls over stew pot, chuckled, Paid 2 coins, eh? Cheap labor. Boone's hand tightened on spoon. Elsie's shoulders tensed. Wren slipped nearer barn shadow, knife ready. Boone replied blunt, They're partners, not property. Slim spat phlegm, shrugged, asked for a refill of water skin. Boone obliged. Trapper rode out under starlight, but unease lingered. Before sleep, Boone inspected rifle, counted shells. 5 left. He placed rifle above door. Elsie saw anxiety, covered stock with cloth, blend weapon into home, not shrine. 4 dawn delivered chill edge. Frost silver grass tips. Elsie's new curtains fluttered, color bright against gray boards. Boone's saddle bait arrived for seed, but Wren blocked path, pointing horizon where Slim's campfire flickered too close. Boone understood. Stay until threat moved on. They spent day planting rye. Wren carved irrigation furrows toward new well. Elsie fetched bucket lines, singing low hymn that softened furrow edges. Boone raked, muscles screaming but heart lighter than months. After sunset, Slim returned with 2 cronies, whiskey bowled. They halted by a gate, torches swaying. Come for the help, Slim slurred. Boone stepped onto porch, rifle leveled. Crony laughed, raised carbine. Wren loosed arrow, crafted from barn splinter, grazed man's cheek. Torch dropped, igniting brush. Elsie hurled bucket, dousing flame. Boone fired warning near Slim's boots. Horses reared. Men cursed, retreated, shots wild. Silence reclaimed yard. Wren retrieved arrow. Clean tip. Boone lowered rifle, exhale rattling. Elsie stood by broken gate, shoulders squared. No one passing without leave again. That night Boone thanked them. Words clumsy, heart sure. He placed 2 coffee cups, his and his wife's, before fire, offered choice. Elsie warmed palms around wife's cup, tears shining. Wren accepted other, raised it to moon, their covenant sealed over ground and sky. In dreams, Boone walked flooded memory, holding 2 small hands. One sewing needle strong, the other hawk feather swift. Morning brought crisp air, but warmth inside cabin rivaled hearth. Water flowed, barn roof hole, rye seed sleeping. Boone pinned scrap of Tricia's letter to wall. Beneath it, Elsie stitched first patch of new quilt. Wren hung small woven reed charm above door, symbol for home resisting storm. The gambler's laugh no longer echoed. Instead, wind carried future's breath, smelling faintly of rye sprouts and cedar smoke. 3 hearts beat, not in unison yet, but like braided river branches converging somewhere unseen, certain. Slim Dyer nursed humiliation like a thorn under skin. He rode south to Old Cattle Cut, traded pelts for powder, whiskey for men, and by the dark of new moon returned before riders armed and half-drunk on promised easy pickings. He bragged the ranch held 2 exotic prizes, and a fool with 5 bullets. The prairie carried rumor ahead of hooves. Wren spotted dust by afternoon. Her hawk train gazed judging numbers and angle. She slipped into barn, where Boone repaired stall doors. 1 tap on post, 2 fingers raised. Threat, 5 riders. Boone's jaw clenched, shells left. 5. Elsie stitched by window. She tucked needle into hair, rolled fresh curtain cloth tight, improvised bandage. They had hours before dusk. Fortifying. Wren directed Boone to fell a cedar sapling. She stripped branches, carved stakes. Elsie soaked scrap cloth in lamp oil, tied knots, fire wicks. Boone loaded 2 shells in Winchester, placed 3 in pocket. Wren produced boughs she'd shaped from hackberry limb, strung with horsehair, arrows scarce, but each could count. They dug shallow trench before gate, filled with dry brush and oiled rags. Elsie packed seamstress scissors, hammer, and boiled water kettle. Every tool, weapon, or aid. Boone positioned wagon sideways, forming barricade. Wren scaled roof, bow across back, spy of night. Approach. Moon crawled fat and yellow over grassy. Riders crested ridge, torch glow licking saddles. Slim's laughter carried. Come out, tailor girl. Hawk thing too. Animal smelled trap, snorted, hove stamping uncertainty. Boone stood on porch, lantern behind a silhouette rifle. Distraction. Elsie hid beneath wagon. Kettle simmering on coals. Wren waited on roof. Arrow knocked. Slim drew near, pistol up. Last chance, hero. Boone replied calm. Turned back. Soil's thirsty for no man's blood. Slim sneered, spurred forward. Boone's rifle roared. First shell shattered torch. Darkness swallowed charge. Wren loosed arrow, pierced rider's shoulder. He howled, dropped reins, horse bolted. Remaining raiders fired blind. Bullets sang off tin roof. Boone chambered second round. Picked fire-glow silhouette. Shot slam man from saddle. 2 left plus Slim. They dismounted for cover. Wren crawled across ridgepole, tracking shapes. Elsie slid from shadow, hurled boiling water at crouched raider. Scalded scream split night. She swung hammer, struck temple. Man crumpled silent. Slim flank left, reached barn wall, pistol cocked. Boone saw too late. Slim burst onto porch, grappling barrel. Rifle clattered. They crashed into rocker, splinters flying. Slim's knife flashed. Boone blocked forearm, blade grazed ribs. Blood warmed shirt. Elsie sprinted, scissors gleaming. Slim grabbed her wrist, twisting. She gasped but held steel. Wren dropped from roof behind him. Silent arrow replaced by cedar stake. She drove stake hard into Slim's thigh. He roared, released Elsie, swung knife wild. Boone seized cattle branding iron from wall, swung like bat, iron met skull. Slim folded. Aftermath. Smoke curled from trench brush. Wren sparked, fending off wounded horse trampling yard. Remaining raider fled east, blood trail bright. Boone pressed hand to side wound. Warm leak slowed under Elsie's cloth. She guided him inside. Wren bound Slim. Checked pulse. Alive barely. She dragged him to barn, tied high where sheriff would find. Elsie boiled comfrey. Stitched Boone slash with thread, usually meant for dresses. He winced, but eyes never left hers. Wren entered, sat beside fire, gaze soft. Silence thickened with unsaid. Boone rasped first. $2 bought thunder I didn't deserve. Elsie shook head. No, it bought you sisters and a chance. Wren reached, laid hand over Boone's bandaged ribs, then touched Elsie's arm, linking them. She spoke quiet English learned in days of dust stories. We choose to stay. Boone's breath hitched. I'd die before losing either of you. Elsie whispered, live instead. She leaned, pressed lips to his brow. Wren followed, kissing at the temple. Boone's eyes closed, tears mixing with sweat. Dawn of trust. Marshal arrived by noon, hauling Slim to justice. He shook Boone's hand, nodded respect to women, left with words. This place stands because hearts fought harder than guns. With raiders gone, rye shoots sprouted green threads. Elsie planted dye flowers beside porch, colors for quilts yet sown. Wren taught Boone coyote language, how 3 short yips mean safe hunting. Evenings found trios sharing coffee cups, laughter stitching over prior fear like patchwork. One night, stars crisp, Boone offered wedding band once belonging to mother. He knelt not to one, but held it between 2 palms, Elsie's and Wren's. I can't split a ring, but my life is room for both. Elsie's smile was sunrise spilling across fabric. Wren traced circle, whispered, family one. They slid ring on leather cord worn by Boone, symbol of shared center. Closing beat. The cabin window glowed with Elsie's curtain. Roof bore Wren's feather charm. Porch smelled of rye bread cooling. Boone sat on threshold, two hands in his. Coyotes called safe hunt yips. Wren answered low. Elsie laughed, heartier than first day. Distant thunder promised rain for rye. Three silhouettes on porch fused into single shadows stretching across reclaimed land. Auction curse broken. $2 multiplied into endless wealth of belonging. Autumn arrived like a gentle verdict, laying gold across every rye head that swayed behind the rebuilt barn. Morning fog hugged the creek, carrying the scent of damp earth and something sweeter. Promise kept. Elsie, Wren, and Boone stood shoulder to shoulder at field edge, silent before the abundance they had coaxed from dust. Gathering grain, they harvested by hand, Boone swinging scythe in wide arcs, Wren binding stalks with yucca twine, Elsie stacking sheaves into sun-kissed teepees. Sweat beaded, but laughter broke often, Boone teasing Elsie's perfect bundles, Wren stealing hat off Boone's head, Elsie marking height on wagon boards. Next year, higher. By dusk, wagon brimmed with grain, heavier than coins once spent. That night, they threshed beside lantern glow. Elsie's rhythmic flail, Boone's shovel toss, Wren's winnowing basket. 3 beats blended into evening hymn. Chaff drifted skyward like pale moths. Below, kernels rattled in barrel. Sound of winter secured. Building tomorrow. Profit from first sale bought lumber for a one-room schoolhouse. Neighbors came, curious and eager. Freed sharecroppers, Mexican vaqueros, 2 Kiowa brothers. Under Wren's quiet direction, and Boone's muscle, walls climbed within a week. Elsie painted doorframe blue-gray, color of early dawn, while children pressed handprints in wet whitewash. Above lintel she stitched a banner, River Song School. Inside stood 3 benches, slate fashioned from barn tin coated in charcoal wash, and a small altar knowledge. Elsie's recovered Bible, a primer Boone bargained, and Wren's bundle of river stones for counting. Opening day saw 8 pupils reciting letters. Wren taught them to track cloud shadows for weather signs. Elsie traced alphabet into callous palms. Wedding under the cottonwood. Mid-October. With rice stored and school ringing laughter, Boone led the women beneath the lone cottonwood that had survived flood. Marshal Mulligan officiated in plain vest. Elias Boone, do you pledge land and breath to these women? With every sunrise. Elsie's answer, I pledge my threads and songs. Wren's, I pledge footstep, arrow, and sky. They braided 3 cords, buckskin, gingham, and horsehair, around trunk, symbolizing roots entwined. Marshall pronounced them joined. Neighbors cheered, tossing rye grains that caught late sun like sparks. That evening Boone removed his mother's ring from leather cord, surprised by a second iron band. Elsie had forged it from Slim's abandoned horseshoe. They slipped rings onto each other's fingers, matching bands, different metals, one purpose. Wren cut a lock of her hair, tied it around both rings, circle within circle. A hawk wheeled overhead. Crying blessing. First peaceful winter. Frost-painted windows. Inside cabin, fire crackled, kettle whistled chicory and cinnamon. Boone carved cradle from cedar offals. Elsie lined it with patchwork of curtain scraps. Wren set hawk feather on rail. They placed it beside hearth, empty yet full of expectation. Slim's trial ended in a 10-year sentence. Rumor said he cursed the black witch in Wild Hawk until cell closed. The valley slept secure. Coyotes sang but never crossed fence Wren patrolled. Snow dusted porch. Boone and Elsie taught Wren pronounce snowflake. She answered by teaching Apache word noddy. They laughed over mugs, steam braiding over rings of 3 intertwined hands. Spring bloom. Rains returned gentle, feeding creek and orchard. Peach blossoms blessed the tree planted over their first trench fire. Bees hummed fresh hymns. Rye seedlings pierced soil again, braver, thicker. Wren guided Elsie's hand over swelling belly. First child stirring. Boone's eyes welled. He spoke no words, only rested ear to life's drum. Schoolhouse gained a porch, built by pupils under Boone's tutelage. Elsie embroidered each child's name onto burlap flag. Wren painted guardian hawk above doorway in red clay. On last day of term, children presented Boone with small book of their written stories. First one titled $2 Turned to Gold. Dawn of second names. Early summer sunrise. Elsie labored inside cabin. Wren's calm voice chanting river cadence. Boone fetched water, hands trembling with fear and awe. At first cry, dawn light burst through window. A daughter, skin copper brown, hair black waves. They named her Aria River. Aria for Elsie sewing songs. River for Wren's Creek map. Neighbors arrived, bearing gifts. Corn seed, ribbon, tiny moccasins. Marshall pen paper to cabin door. Deed releasing Boone's mortgage. Paid by county for service to community. Boone tore debt note. Ashes spiraling into bright sky. That night, moon hung round and low. By lantern, Boone, Elsie, and Wren rocked on porch. Cradle near, Aria asleep. Boone whispered, I once bought pity. I found purpose. Elsie replied, threads mend cracks. Wren added, water finds stone's heart. 3 statements folded into one lullaby. Coyotes offered distant chorus. Safe hunt yips, answer by Wren's hush. Closing image. Camera pulls back. Rye field waving. Schoolhouse door open. Creek silvering under moon. Cottonwood cords fluttering intertwined. Porch light glows on 3 silhouettes leaning together. Cradle near. Hawk feather fluttering. Wind carries child sigh, mixing with river hum. Land once bought for $2, now worth 7 lifetimes and counting. If their journey from auction dust to harvest moon touched you, hit subscribe, leave a like, and share in the comments which moment, the trench fire defense, the cottonwood vows, or the schoolhouse laughter, stayed with you. Your words light the next story's path.